Hello guys! Welcome to another part of my Let's Read of Lyre, the visual novel. So let's get into it. A few days pass and I have finally finished getting everything ready for the winter solstice. A couple restless nights and 3 bottles of wine seemed to do the trick. Lyle keeping me company also helped, even if he spent most of his time out in the hall. Lately I think he's been distancing himself from me. I assume it's because of that little revelation that occurred. It's crossed my mind multiple times as well. I can't help but be thankful for this little bit of space that's been provided. True, I enjoy his company, but I feel that I needed some time to myself in order to assess my thoughts, and I have finally come to a conclusion. I think I'm in love with him? Call it what you will, but it's the closest I have ever gotten to feeling like I am in love with someone. Childhood crushes and young love don't compare to this at all. It feels wrong considering I've only been here for a while, but every time I am around him, my chest twists into knots and feel all warm inside. Every day I wake up and he's the first thing on my mind. His personality, those big eyes, that beautiful dark coat of fur and bushy tail, those strong muscular arms and that massive heart. Yeah, the heart. I get up from my desk to go and answer the door. I don't know. Maybe it's not love. My emotions are all over the place and I need to be more responsible. It's fine to be emotional though, right? Before I can grab the handle, I hear a weird scratching noise. It's coming from the peephole. I open the small door and stare through the opening. He's peeking. On the other side is Lyle, sticking his muzzle up to the opening. Hi. Hi. Can I come in? I was, I have to hold back my laughter. Opening the door. Oh, okay. I open the door to let him in as he ducks under the doorway. I can't take it anymore and I break into a fit of wheezy chuckles. He kind of recoils and gets a little bit flustered, which makes me laugh even more. What? What is it? It's nothing. No, no, you know exactly what you did. I know, I was trying to be funny. And you succeeded. I just had a bit of a late response. Yeah. I wipe a tear from my eye and pull my hair back and retie it behind my head while walking back to my desk. That was a nice icebreaker, I guess. Well, you'll be happy to know that I just finished getting everything ready for the ball. That's great to hear. Yeah, I just have to bring these payments to the bakery in the village. They're baking hundreds of mini pastries, along with providing baked goods for the village festival. Wait, you're not going to have a servant do that? Well, I wanted to bring it myself. I figured that they deserve to have this delivered in person, considering the hard work they have been doing. I held up the thick envelope. Today's the first day all week where it's not freezing cold. And I feel like now that I have the free time, I can go and see the village. Alright. Really? Yeah, I don't see why not. You don't have to ask me for permission though. I know, I just wanted a second opinion. I wanted to make sure it was a good idea. Besides, I'm pretty sure that I have nothing else going on today. I think to myself for a moment about how the winter solstice is only a few days away. Time flies when you're busy, I guess. Plus, I've got a lot on my mind. I'm actually free for the rest of the week if what I have to go off is true. That's good to hear. I actually am a little excited to be able to show you around the town square. The village actually has a lot of history to it. I can imagine it now. A bustling town square with dozens of little shops and homes lining the street. I can honestly barely contain my excitement. I sure hope it does. I'll go get ready. I make my way across the room and dress myself in clothing that better suits going outside. It's very cold out and I don't want to freeze. Lyle is standing on the far side of the room. Is he watching me get dressed? While I'm pulling up my trousers, I turn my head to look in his direction. I think I see him quickly avert his gaze. He's not even staring at anything, he's just staring at the wall. I finish putting on my outfit and wrap the scarf around my neck. Okay, I'm ready. Thoughts? Hmm? Oh, okay. He quickly pads across the room and opens the door while I grab the envelope off the desk. We step out into the hallway together and the brisk chill hits my face. The afternoon sunlight envelopes me for a moment, making the cold temperature a little more bearable. Lyle takes a key off of his key ring and locks the door behind us. I have some things that I would like to take care of in the village today, if you don't mind. Not at all. I mean, it should only take a few minutes. It shouldn't interfere with anything. Lyle, it's fine. Right. Sorry. Remember, I'm not some child that needs to be taken care of. We make our way down the hallway, with me rubbing my hand along the windowsill. He walks by my side, rubbing his paws together in a sheepish way. What is it that you wanted to do? He perks up and leans forward, showing me the sword on his back. I wanted to take this to the smith. I needed to get it treated. He slides it off of his back sheath and shows me the blade. It does look like it could use a good polish. Yeah, the blade's a bit dull. I like to keep her in good condition, even though I don't get to use her much. When do you get to use your sword? I mostly only practice combat in the training yard. The training dummies really do a number on her edge. We reach a fork in the hallway and Lyle takes the lead. This way. We traverse down a hallway that I haven't been to before. It feels familiar, though. So, what is her name? I see his mouth curl, clearly too embarrassed to reveal such information. Her name is Winter. That's a cool name. And no, that pun was not intended. Thanks. I chose that name because just like this sword, Winter can be cold, dangerous, and long. That's actually very poetic. That's very clever. I can hear the tone of surprise in your voice, Reissler. No, you cannot. He lets out a hearty laugh that echoes up and down the halls. I'm just messing with you. We reach the end of the hallway where there is a small door. This feels too familiar. Have I been here before? Maybe this was one of the dead ends Lyle accidentally led me down on one of our many tours. Lyle takes a key and unlocks the door, revealing a spiral staircase. I'm instantly flooded with deja vu. It's the creepy staircase. Where does this lead? The village. Do people usually leave the castle through here? He pauses for a moment in the doorway, then turns and speaks. No, but sometimes it's best to use one of these exits instead of the main gates. Why is that? It's nothing. Honestly, this way is just faster. It leads straight to the village and there's no unnecessary checkpoints like at the main gate. He starts to descend the staircase and I follow him. How far down does this go? Not too far. It's just a tunnel that leads to an exit in the village. These are supposed to be used in case anyone needs to escape the castle during a siege, but most of the diplomats and nobles like to use them to leave the castle without drawing attention. And are we not trying to draw attention? If you want to leave through the main gate, we can. This way is faster, though. No, this is fine. It's actually a bit exciting. I haven't done anything this sneaky or exciting in a while. I'm glad you think so. It's going to get really dark once we reach the tunnel. Humans can't see well in the dark, can they? No, we can't. That's okay. I have almost perfect vision in the dark, so I can help you. It's not a dangerous path at all. Very spacious and the ground is flat. I'm putting my trust in you, but I swear if I slip and hit my head, you'd better hope I get amnesia. Haha, you'll be fine. We reach the bottom of the stairs and I can barely see a thing. Each step I take becomes more cautious, but suddenly I feel something brush up against my hand. Reissler, take my paw. I feel the metallic claws and soft leather of this glove wrap around my palm. His paws are very large and warm. They have a firm but gentle grip and feel articulate. These truly are an artist's hands. Or artist's paws. Both with the pen and the sword. I wish I could tell him how I feel, but I'm just so nervous. All of these little scenarios run through my head and I'm afraid I'll mess things up. I feel so silly. He pulls me forward and we begin to walk down the tunnel. I really hope that he can't see me blushing. Our footsteps echo up and down the tunnel, reverberating off the walls. His are quieter than mine because my shoes are much louder than his padded feet. There's a light at the end that I can see. It looks like it's coming from a trapdoor. We eventually reach the small slit of light and I hear the noise of Lyle's keys jingling. He unlocks the trap door and pushes it open. The light is blinding, but I can at least see the stairs. Lyle steps to the side and I make my way up. I emerge into a side alley, and just around the corner is something I had been longing to see for a very long time. Wow! It's the town square! It's just like how I imagined it would be. I mean, I had seen most of it from the high towers in the castle, but it is more beautiful up close. People are bustling about their daily business, going about their routine. Children seen holding their mother's paws while they shop for groceries, and merchants conducting business outside of their shops. Horse-drawn carts make their way down the paved roads and pass each other in a neat, orderly fashion, circling around the fountain. The buildings are small and neat, stacked side by side, and their walls are painted with a cream color. The roof of each building shines in different shades of green and blue, the morning frost reflecting the sun off of each shingle in a majestic way. Flowers line the windows of some of the buildings, and leaves from the trees skate across the ground. Pipes run up and down the walls of each little shop and home, with smoke drifting out of the chimney caps into the sky. Lyle finishes locking up the trapdoor and joins me by my side with his paws on his hips. He's taking this in too. There's an entrance underneath a bridge up ahead, and I can see the ships in the harbor. Their sails are rolled up and the masts pierce into the sky like spears. I could see the waters from the castle, and Luna's fjord is glistening with the morning light. I wonder if we will be able to go down to the harbor. If I remember correctly, the bakery should be in the town square. As I'm looking around for the bakery, my eye catches something that I didn't pay much attention to before. The fountain in the center of town square has a statue on in that seems familiar. It's a doe, standing atop a pillar with grace and elegance. Her clothes are heavy, and it looks like she's draped in several garments of silk and cotton. Her eyes are closed and her expression looks understanding, but there seems to be an aura of sadness about her. On her head is a tiara with a triangular gem hanging off the tip. Crystal clear water flows out of the base of the fountain and glows in the light of the sun. Lyle is already walking towards a building where I can hear the clanging of metal when he stops to see why I'm not following. I walk up to the fountain and notice a golden plaque. There's an inscription on it which I read out loud to myself. In honor of Queen Elena Ossian, loving mother, dutiful queen. Lyle walks up beside me, staring up at the statue. This is Queen Elena Ossian, Raynar's late wife. What happened to her? He scrunches up his snout and shakes his head slowly. She died about 10 years ago. His shoulders raise tensely, and he sinks into his neck fluff a little bit. That's a shame. I think he probably feels that it's not his place to talk about this. Was she a good queen? He relaxes a bit and looks up at the statue again. I look as well and cannot help but think of my own queen back in Erin. The best. For a moment, the only noise I can hear is the sound of the water trickling onto the surface of the pool. I don't doubt it. Do you think Raynar and Adrius miss her? This time his answer is instant. With all their hearts, I'm sure. He gives a slight pause to his sentence, letting the words linger. Come on, let's go to the forge. I've got a friend that I want you to meet. He takes the lead, and I'm not surprised to see villagers part to let us pass. They probably recognize Lyle's armor and immediately know that someone important must be making their way through the village. Now that I think about it, I have been getting a lot of stares. As I'm following Lyle, I see a vixen and a badger look at me and whisper to each other. The vixen says something that flusters the badger, and she slightly shoves her, making the fox laugh even more. A child holding their mother's paws calls out to her while pointing at me. I'm not used to getting this much attention, and I find myself awkwardly smiling at anybody who gives it to me. I'm not really looking where I'm going and accidentally step on Lyle's tail. Ah! I lift my foot up, realizing my mistake, and he tumbles forward slightly. I can hear a couple bystanders chuckle to themselves at my clumsiness. My face is probably as red as a tomato. He turns around looking behind him and wags his tail a bit to get it straightened out. Please watch your step, Reissler. It took me a very long time to get my tail to look this nice. Sorry, Lyle. He keeps walking and stops outside of a tall building. There's some baskets outside stacked up against the wall and a rug on the floor. I can hear the clang of metal from inside and the smell of coal burning. Lyle lifts the tarp in the doorway and gestures for me to walk through. I step into the doorway, muttering a thanks to him, still embarrassed about stepping on his tail like a clumsy fool. We step into a dim room lit by a large furnace. It's warm in here, and the tarp and lack of windows does a good job at keeping the heat inside. There are swords lying up against a rack and horseshoes on the wall. I see an array of tools scattered about, and a rack with some small hammers neatly on display. It smells like hard work in here. Eden, you in? I hear a gruff voice come from a door off to the side. Reed, is that you? Oh yeah, just a second. Getting a new hammer from the back. I hear some clattering, and shortly a large bear appears in the doorway. He's wearing a black apron and has a hammer slung over his shoulder. It's been a while, Reed. What do you need done this time? His eyes fall on me. And who's this? Ah, this is Reissler. Lord Reissler. He says this in a proud tone. Before I can ream him, Eden gives a slight bow and looks up. It's a right pleasure to meet you, Lord Reissler. The bow is something I'm still getting used to. You can just call me Reissler if you want. I extend a hand and he takes it gently. His paws are huge and a bit dirty. I'm glad I'm wearing gloves. He shakes my hand lightly as if he were dealing with a small child. If that's what you want to be called, Reissler. He's traveled here from Erin to help with diplomatic relations. We don't get a lot of people from Erin around these parts, especially during this time of year. Too cold for him. It does get a bit too cold for my comfort. Ha, don't worry. At night, once those vitality lanterns are lit, they'll warm up the whole village. Keeps the snow at bay, too. He turns to Lyle with a snarky grin. Do you need your sword fixed again? Lyle blushes and grips the handle of his sword. No, I just need it sharpened. She's feeling a bit dull. I would do it myself, but nobody does it better than you. You've got that right. He hoists the hammer higher, adjusting it on his shoulder. Damascus is a quality material, so I'll be able to have it done within the hour. You want her polished too? I could give her the full treatment for no extra cost. Really? Sure, I'm not busy and I need something to do to make the time pass by faster. These orders won't be picked up until later today, so for the past hour I've just been cleaning up my workspace. But I hate cleaning, so I'll do anything to distract myself. Lyle's tail is wagging and I can feel his excitement radiating off of him. That would be great! Lyle gives his sword to Eden and his head sits on the table. I'll be back in a bit to pick her up. He starts walking towards the door. It was nice seeing you, Ed. The castle forge is nothing on this place. Nice seeing you too, buddy. It was great meeting you, Reissler. Lyle lifts the tarp to the door and holds it open for me. A chilly breeze blows into the room and envelopes the back of my head as I wave back to Eden. It was a pleasure to meet you too. We step outside and Lyle places his paw on my shoulder. We'll come back in a while to pick up my sword. Now that that's out of the way, you can drop off that letter at the bakery while we wait. Sure, I think I see it over there. Oh, wait! We should get something to eat while we're there. I'll pay. My treat. Oh. Sure. I can pay for my own though. It's fine. Okay, Mr. Moneybags. Says the one trying to buy me stuff. I'm buying, okay? Oh, okay. He seems to be pleased with the outcome. Great, let's go. I'm starving. We slowly make our way around the square and arrive at the door to the bakery. Lyre gets the door for me and holds it. The inside of the bakery is warm, just like the forge. It's very clean and cozy in here too. There's a small barn owl sitting behind the counter dressed in an outfit covered in flour. She's surrounded by an array of baked goods. Weirdly shaped cookies, loaves of bread, pastries, cakes, and pies. I see a shelf stacked with sacks of salt, flour, and sugar for sale. There's more salt though, probably because it's really expensive. It smells wonderful in here too. I can smell stuff being freshly baked in the back. There's a raccoon couple sitting at one of the tables in the corner by a window. Lyle closes the door and we walk up to the counter. Hello, Charlotte. How are you doing today? Her black eyes beam back at Lyle as we step up to the counter. There's a sense of warmth about her. Her feathers even make her look like a seasoned loaf of bread. Lyle, I haven't seen you in a couple of years. You look so grown up. In a good way, right? Always. And who's your friend here? This is Reissler. He's a lord from Erin. Hello. Oh my, the last time we had a lord in here was about 2 years ago. Well, what can I get you boys? Actually, I have a letter here for you. I place the letter on the counter and she slides it towards her with one of her gloves. This is for the goods you're preparing for the ball at the castle. If you take this to the banking guild and show it to them, then the crown will pay you in full for your services. Oh, thank you very much, Lord Reissler. I'm glad that all that hard work will pay off. John will be pleased to hear this. She tucks the letter under the counter. Now you might have been here on the king's orders, but I know Lyre is here because of his stomach. Lyre is staring at the shelves with his tongue slightly hanging out. What can I get you to eat? I take a look at what's on the shelves and the counter. There's a really nice plate of pastries on the shelf with little labels. I'll have a slice of blueberry pie. I see Lyle turn and look at me from the corner of my eye. I'll have an almond cream tart. John! A rotund wolf with red fur leans in the doorway. He was working by the stove while we were talking. Yes, ma'am. You hear that? Yes, ma'am. I did. I'll get that out to you folks in a few. John sets down what he was doing and reaches up to a shelf to prepare a slice of pie. That'll be 8 copper pieces. Lyle reaches behind him and pulls a small sack from off of his belt. He reaches in and pulls out a shiny coin. Here's a silver. You can keep what's left. Thank you. While Lyle paid, John came out and placed the orders on the counter. Thank you very much. Thanks, Charlotte. You're welcome. You boys have a good rest of your day. You too. The pastry is the last bit of warmth left on my person once we go outside. The temperature has gone down a bit as the day has gone on. I take a bite of my food, and it's more than I imagined it could be. The flaky crust tastes really good, and the almonds add a very nice texture. It's amazing! I can hear Lyle next to me chowing down on his pie. It's bite-sized for him. He finishes it and rubs the back of his head. They always have the best food. Do you like it? It's really good. I say this with my mouth full and chuckle a bit. I'm glad you like it. Let's go sit by the fountain. Okay. We walk over to the fountain and sit on the ledge. Warm water particles bounce up onto us from the fountain, but I don't mind. Lyle moves his cape so he's not sitting on it and pulls out his dagger. I finish eating my food and stuff the paper into my coat. He's sitting there with a thoughtful look on his face while he twirls the dagger in his paw. I start to feel a bit tired and decide to lean against him a bit. It feels nice being this close to him. I feel him tense up a little. I can move over if you want to lay down. No, this is fine. Okay. I can feel him start to calm down, and after a while, he leans into me too. His fur smells like coconut. It's a really strong scent. That would probably be one of those strange soaps from the bathroom. I don't remember seeing or smelling coconut in the bath, though. It's nice, though. It reminds me of home, where there was this nice bar with coconut-scented candles. I start to daydream about pressing my face into his warm embrace when I'm snapped out of it by him nudging me on the shoulder. Hey. You're freezing cold. He brushes one of his paw pads up against my forehead. Do you want to go get my sword and head back to the castle? Yes, I think I'm ready to go. Okay. He helps me up and we start walking towards the forge. I am starting to feel a little bit too cold. I guess the warmth of the castle had been coddling me these past weeks. We enter the forge and Eden is standing at his anvil banging away at a piece of metal. I spot Lyle's longsword on the rack with his others. The wolf-head pommel stares back at me with an angry face. You can tell the sword is built for a big person because it completely dwarfs the other longswords, making them look like short swords. Welcome back, my friends. There she is, all sharp and ready for use. He's right, the blade of Damascus is practically glowing in the firelight. When the light hits it just right, you can even see a bit of a swirl design. Thanks, Ed. You really are the best. I know. And don't you forget it. Just like you won't be forgetting the price. You're getting a discount, but it's not free. Of course not. How much is it this time? 5. Alright then. Lyle pulls out his pouch again and sifts through it for 5 gold pieces. Here you go, Eden. He drops the pieces into his paw and Eden stuffs them into his apron. Thank you very much, good sir. Lyre walks over to the rack and picks up his sword, swinging it onto his back, sliding it into the sheath. Have a pleasant day. You too, old friend. We step outside and Lyre stretches, standing on his tiptoes. He lets out a big yawn, showing off his sharp teeth. Ready? Yes. Lyre leads me to the alley where the tunnel back to the castle is. He opens the door and we go down the steps with him holding my hand. Once we got back, Lyre dropped me off at my room and had to leave to go do something. He said that he would be back around sunset and if I wanted to go anywhere to make sure I stay safe and out of trouble. I assured him that I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. He knows this, but just wants to make sure that I'm okay. What would I need to be afraid of? I decided to go for a walk down the halls and maybe try to find someone to talk to. As far as I know, I don't have anything else planned for today, so I'm just trying to fill in the boredom. I hear some voices coming up the hall after a while. Yes, I know that. Okay. Still, I just wanted to let you know that you have to let them heal for at least a day. I understand. I'm not an idiot. Of course, Your Highness. Once I turn the corner, I find it hard to keep a straight face. It's a very strange thing seeing Adrius without his horns. It's also hard not to notice, like if I chopped off all of my hair. But Prince Adrius! What on Tigran happened? What do you mean, what happened? I shed my antlers. Oh. I'm not entirely sure if that's a normal thing. Honestly, his answer just brings up more questions. I've heard that some species with horns will shed them, but I didn't think this is what that meant. So this is normal? Of course it's normal. It happens every winter. And I would have preferred you not see me this way. So don't go blabbing to your lackey about this like it's some sort of hilarious joke. After his outburst, he pushes past me, continuing to walk down the hallway. Your Highness, I wouldn't... Leaf scuttles behind him, trying to get some last words in. No, remember, you need to rub that oil on your horns once every day, and they should grow back in no time. I can't see his face right now, but I'm pretty sure Adrius is rolling his eyes. Of course, I'm sure with how healthy they were, they will grow back even faster. Our prince always did have such beautiful horns. I rub the back of my head as I listen to Leaf desperately try to advise him. Adrius reaches the door to what I presume is his room. It's a large set of double doors with antler-shaped handles. And remember to... Adrius leans in the doorway of his room and pokes his head out. Thank you so much for your kind words of wisdom and compliments, Doctor. He says this in a very insincere tone. Goodbye. He shuts the door on Leaf, causing him to reel. Patting off his robe, he lets out a sigh of defeat and starts walking towards me. Why is he always like that? What do you mean? Why is he so rude all the time? He takes a moment to think, or choose his words wisely. It's probably because of all the expectations being weighed on him. He doesn't get a lot of time for himself. I don't know. He just seems very closed off. He hasn't opened up to anyone in a very long time, from what I've heard. Don't be so harsh on poor lad. The sneaky cat approaches us while Leaf jumps a bit. It's a large burden that he's being given. It's best that we give him some space and treat him with respect. He pauses after this statement and holds out his paw, observing his claws. Sorry for interrupting your discussion. That's all right. Yes, but on that last note, respect goes both ways. He shakes his head in a disappointed way. Sadly, not in this profession. After this statement, he turns to Leaf. Leaf, was it? I was hoping I could get a moment alone to talk with Lord Reissler. Of course. I'll be going now. His taloned feet clack against the floor as he walks away. It was nice seeing you, Reissler. Take care. After he's gone, Kadaj nods his head to the right. Walk with me? Sure. His tail swishes back and forth as we mosey down the corridor. How has your time here been? Very good for the most part. It's been very accommodating, and I've even made friends with the captain of the guard. Yes, Lyre Reed. The brave, shining knight. I have a feeling he doesn't like me much. Oh. He has difficulty opening up to people. That's not true, but I'd rather not tell Kadaj that Lyre doesn't trust him. I find that hard to believe.
You've only been here for a few weeks and he's become one of your dearest friends.
Yes, I suppose he has.
That reminds me. Are you planning on attending the ball?
I was planning on going, yes. I've put so much work into setting it up that I would be ashamed to not go.
Planning on bidding anyone? There are plenty of pretty ladies in court that you could ask. Or gentlemen, if you prefer that.
I blush at the thought of going to a party with Lyle by my side. Yes, I suppose there are.
It's okay though. I still don't know who I will go with. I'll most likely end up deciding on the night it happens.
He lets out a small chuckle and then stops walking to look out the window.
Why were you sent here?
What?
Sorry if this seems out of nowhere.
What does Aaron want from this exchange? What does he mean? I was sent here for the same reason that he was. Lyre was in need of advisors for the king. It was a simple trade deal. I was sent here to help the king of Lyre with maintaining order for a hefty price. After I finish answering, he takes a moment to respond as he stares out one of the windows.
As I had thought. I am here as a diplomat too, but that was not the only task I was given.
What was the other task? He pauses and looks at me with a very sincere look in his eyes.
The kingdom of Duriz is worried. I fear that Lyre is falling out of touch with the rest of the kingdoms. Our cooperation goes on ever so smoothly, but our lands and connections are as separate as ever.
He runs his paw on the windowsill, touching a flower with one of his claws.
I was sent here as a diplomat, but my main objective will stay the same. I have been instructed to keep an eye on this kingdom and reconnect it with the others.
I understand what he is saying now. You were sent here as a spy? He looks back at me with a confused glance which then breaks into a warm expression.
Do you think I am?
Well, it's just...
Whether I am or not does not matter. A word of advice, Reissler. Trust your own judgment and rely on what you know. That's the only way you can get by in this line of work. What you know can help you in the end.
He puts his paws behind his back and continues walking.
It's okay to trust people, but never as much as you trust yourself. Now, I have one more question for you.
What is it?
Where do your allegiances lie?
Is this a trick question? Is he testing me? Whatever he's doing, I don't like it. The obvious answer would be Lyre, but something tells me that's not correct. I am loyal to the crown, but most of all, I am loyal to Tigran. I can't get an exact read on his expression, but he seems pleased with my answer.
You're smarter than most. Loyalty to Tigran is important, but you must not forget your dedication to those who matter.
Why are you asking me these questions?
I wanted to make sure I could trust you. I'll tell you this, I am not a spy. I am simply making sure that our kingdoms can work in tandem. Duriz wants cooperation with Lyre, but we cannot do that without connections and relations.
He stops walking and looks out the window to see the sun move closer and closer to where the mountains touch the sky.
I fear that after this ball, things will be turning in an undesirable direction.
What do you mean by that? There is a long silence before he speaks.
Nothing. We shall cross that bridge once we get to it. There's a lot of work in store for us.
He turns on his heel and slowly walks away.
Oh, one more thing.
What is it?
You don't have to worry about the king finding out about this conversation. I won't say a word, and I'm sure you won't either, correct?
I don't see a reason for why I should say anything. Lord Kadaj hasn't done anything wrong necessarily. I would even say he's doing his job better because of it. I agree that our kingdoms need to be more tightly connected if we want to ensure stability. I have no reason to say anything. He smirks back at me.
That's good to hear. Because if you did, it would be unpleasant for both of us. And it would certainly make our jobs a lot harder.
He says this with no malice in his voice. I think he means well.
Oh, and if you were looking for the king, I saw him in the gardens. You'll want to go find him now, though. The sun will be setting soon.
Thank you.
Have a pleasant afternoon, Reissler.
Same to you. My mind wanders back to that question. Where do your allegiances lie? I'm not sure if I answered that question truthfully. My allegiances lie with whomever I'm currently serving.
They'll be the death of you.
Like Kadaj said, I'll get to that bridge when I cross it. I just need to get through the rest of this week. I stroll through the courtyards and outdoor halls and make my way to the gardens. There's nobody here from what I can see, and the dying light of the sun casts a yellow hue over the grass. The pond is shimmering gold, and the leaves look like flakes of brass.
I take a seat on the tree stump that Lyle sat on and stare into the water of the pond. My reflection is almost as clear as if I were staring into a mirror. A leaf falls onto the surface of the pond and creates a ripple that distorts my image. Fuck! What was that?
I just felt a searing pain surge through my head for a split second.
I bend over, lowering my head closer to the pond, trying to gather my senses. It's then that I have this weird feeling rush over me. My eyes drift onto the path. There's an area that I haven't been to yet. It's enclosed by some walls and towers. It looks like it leads to a very thick patch of brush. The chilly air brushes up against my body. I really should have brought a cloak or something. Standing up, I walk around the edge of the pond and trail my hand along the side of the apricot tree. Leaning in the archway, I think to myself why I'm even going back here. It feels like I'm being forced. I try not to think about it and just blame it on curiosity. It is then that I realize I can hear talking, muffled and distant, but it's definitely a voice. Pain, ears. I can't really make out a complete sentence. The hedges twist and turn and I find myself walking down a path that feels more like a hedge maze. After a minute of walking, the hedges start to fade out and I can see the rolling hills and mountains off in the distance. What I come upon next is a bit startling. Oh my god.
Raynor is kneeling down in the grass, looking away from my general direction. He's in front of a tombstone with a dragon apricot sitting at its base. Lana, every day I think about you. Things are never going to go back to the way they were. Oh my god, I need to leave. I don't think I'm welcome here. I go to walk back down the path, but as I turn, I scuff my shoe on the path. Reissler? He says this without turning to look at me. His eyes still linger on the grave, shrouded by the light of the sunset. Yes, Your Grace? How did you know it was me? He looks down at his knees and then answers. You're the only one here that wears shoes, Reissler. Oh, yes, that would probably give it away. I'm sorry that you caught me here, in this moment. That's okay, I should probably leave. No, please stay. He's speaking in a very sad voice, filled with agony. Do you know what happened? I just know that she died several years ago. Do you want to know? Finding a way to respond to this is difficult. My social skills were never exemplary to begin with, but this situation is a bit too extreme. Still, I am curious. I feel like it would clear up some things. If you wish to tell me of your woes, I will listen. I can't even tell if he's breathing or not. The only thing that moves is his robe as it blows in the wind. Spoken like a man who chooses his words wisely. I've never opened up to anyone about this. He continues to sit there silently, barely moving. We were on our way back from visiting Duriz 10 years ago. Little Adrius was just 8 years old, looking after the castle for us. Of course, he had help from Sir Runar. The trip went well, and we had many successful discussions with the lords and ladies of Duriz. Our time with King Aaron went well too. He was a good friend of mine. Traveling back home was when it happened. Our entourage consisted of several guards and a few dozen soldiers. All of them were trained very well, and the guards were as honorable as they come. But honor only gets you so far in the field of battle. At twilight, we were traversing through the canyon pass when we were attacked. You've heard of the bandit problem, yes? Of course. It was much worse back then. An entire legion of brigands trained to kill. Our carts were sitting ducks. They came sliding down the sides of the canyon. They knew the terrain better than anyone. My soldiers were not farm boys who had never swung a sword, however. They fought them off well. Well enough for us to get a chance to escape and ride ahead. Everything happened so fast, yet I can still remember it so vividly. The way Lena was gripping my wrist with her small but strong hands. The carriage careening down the path, hitting every bump in the road. The driver slumping over in his seat after getting an arrow through his chest. He inhales and exhales deeply through his nose and hunches over slightly. By the time the battle was over, and my soldiers had caught up to the cart, it was too late. She died in my arms with a dagger in her stomach. His voice is shaking. They killed her. She was good, and, and she was kind. It should have been. Tears are streaming down his face. His words are sticking in his throat. He gathers himself and continues. When we had arrived back at the castle, and Adrius found out, he locked himself in his room for weeks. I would sit on the ground outside of his bedroom door and try to talk with him. The amount of grief her murder caused me was unbearable, but I can't imagine how he felt. I see him take his cloak and wrap it around himself more tightly. And now those outlaws have made a resurgence, and I'm powerless. He finishes his story and sits there, staring at the sunset. This is a lot to take in. I don't really know how to respond. I don't get a chance, however. He stands up and slowly clears his throat and walks back down the path.
I follow behind him, not wanting to be left there with all that information. Reissler? Yes, Reynor? I need you to be there for him. Once he becomes king, I need you to guide my son down the right path. A king without a council is like a brain with no conscience. He rubs his hands together. Can I trust you? Can I be trusted? Can I be there for him? At first the thought irks me, but then I remember what Kadash told me about stability earlier. This might be my chance. I can try. That is all I ask. I want him to be a better king than I was. I truly did let him down. Your Highness, don't say that. It's true. One day, I will explain why. He looks around and blinks his eyes a few times. I apologize for robbing you of a perfectly fine evening. It's quite alright. It was my fault for wandering back there. I find myself choosing my words wisely, like walking on eggshells. Yes, I suppose so. However, it was a simple mistake, and I don't fault you for it. He swiftly nods his head while wiping his eyes with his hands. I'll be going now. Please, take care. Reynor? Yes, Reissler? It's not your fault. He closes his eyes in contemplation, then responds, I wish it weren't. And with that, he leaves. We stand in the garden for a while longer, watching the sun dissipate behind the mountains. The cold starts to get to me, so I head inside. I've been sitting at my desk for the past hour thinking about the events of this afternoon, and to think this day started off so well. Now my mind can't stop racing. Actually, it feels completely blank. Like there's so much to think about, so my mind tries to think about all of it at once and just shuts down. I really have been given a great task. And it will most likely force me to give up the thing I want most. Suddenly, the door swings open, almost blowing out the candle on my desk. Lyre is slumped in the doorway and has a dazed look in his eyes. Hey, Reissler. Oh, he's drunk. Extremely drunk. Where have you been? Well, I was doing some business in my quarters, and then I went to the mess hall for some supper. Me and my fellow guardsmen were playing drinking games, and he flops into the chair I was just sitting in. I won. His clothes are all tousled and his fur is a mess. I find myself speaking to him like one would to a child. That's great, Lyle. How much did you drink exactly? He takes a moment to think about his answer. How many mugs is too much? About 4? I probably drank about that much. Mm-hmm. That's really not good for you. I've lost my patience for everyone at this point, so all I can do is just rub my hands together awkwardly. The dresser with the rag and clean water catches my attention, so I move over there to get a damp rag for him. You're really handsome. You know that? What? What? Thanks? My face is more red than ever before right now. I wring out the rag into the bowl and bring it over to Lyle. His head is now lolling to the side slightly, and he can barely keep his eyes open. Humans are so pretty and difficult. Lyle? He passed out.
I drop the rag back on the dresser and grab a blanket. I can't really be mad at him. He's such a great guy. What did he mean by that last part, though? Difficult. Lazily, I toss the blanket onto him and blow out the candles. I kick my shoes off of my feet and fall into bed. I feel completely exhausted.
To be continued. Okay. So that was very nice. We got to go to the town square with Lyre, and then we saw Raynar having a vulnerable moment nearby the tombstone of his late wife. So I guess that's it for now. So I'll just go back a bit and save. Go back to the main menu. Okay, so that's it for Lyre Visual Novel Build 1.6. Thank you guys for listening. Bye!